I'm used to Casey going, action. Thank you, Rita. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Habits and Hustle. Today we have a good friend of mine, a new good friend of mine named Natasha Case, who is the founder of Coolhaus Ice Cream, which if you don't know what it is, you should know because it is very fast growing, very amazing, delicious tasting ice cream. And it's like basically dominating the ice cream category. So thank you so much for coming on today.
Of course, it's my pleasure.
We're doing something a little different on this podcast now. I don't know if you people are completely aware, but instead of you just telling us great information and then kind of leaving it up to the listener to do with whatever they will with it, we are going to create a journal or somewhat like a PDF of all the great information that you tell us, and then they could practically apply it to their lives. So it's a value added, so to speak, to our listener or viewer. So,
I love it. That's so cool. Applicable knowledge.
Applicable knowledge, yeah. So with that being, with that in mind, we're gonna start. So, hello. Hi. I'll try and make a nice segue into this. Why don't we start with how you kind of got into the ice cream business? I know you used to be an architect. So
yes.
How did you transition into the food world?
So it's an interesting story and kind of, an unusual journey. I had been in design and architecture for a while. I think I always got into that knowing it could be like a broad skill set that I could apply to potentially a lot of other things,
right.
But I didn't know what that would be. And one of my kind of like issues I started to have with architecture, especially in school, was I just felt like it was like intimidating for people to learn about or understand what we were doing, or it felt inaccessible, like we were in a bubble. And I feel like my personal opinion is that things are cooler because you can access them, not because they're inaccessible. And so this was like a red flag to me. How do we make it more fun? How do we open this up to the outside? Because when we graduate, we're all going to need clients, right. And we're going to need people to use our buildings that we create. And I was like, what will this be? How will I do this? And then my whole turning point was kind of an accident, which was I made this scale model in one of my studios, and my professor criticized it, saying it looked like a layer cake. And I was like, why is that bad? Layer cakes are delicious. So exactly. I baked the next iteration of the model as a cake. And that was actually my only all-nighter in all of architecture school, which is a whole other story. But I just had so much fun, making this.
Right.
And it was a much better material to work with than like plywood or balsa wood. And when I presented this model made of cake to my colleagues, you could just see the level of engagement was like way off the charts compared
right.
to anything else that I had done. And I'm sure if you ask them, what do you remember from an architecture studio? You say that like, oh, someone made this like layer cake model. So to me, that was it. I was like, I can use food to talk about design, and it can engage people, and then I'll never be bored of doing it.
Right.
And so I kind of like played around with that intersection of food and design, and I found actually a huge scarcity in like the research there. And it wasn't like not enough people were sort of talking about this. So I created a name for the discipline. I called it Farkitecture, Food Plus Architecture.
That's great. Yeah, I saw that. That's a good name. I like it.
It's supposed to be silly.
Yeah.
And kind of fast forward to like, I played around with this all through grad school. I didn't really know what it would be or what it would mean. It was more of like a philosophy. And then my first real job was I was working at Disney Imagineering. The recession hit, a lot of people were getting laid off. So as part of this architecture umbrella, I started baking cookies, making ice cream from scratch, naming the combinations after architects, and handing them out at work to lighten the mood.
Really?
Yeah. That was like the origin of Coolhaus, basically. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So you were actually just making them at home and just for like a fun thing to do, like on the side, just to kind of make people happy.
Totally. It was a passionate hobby, I would say. And I specifically, to your original question, picked ice cream because of all foods, all potential, things that you could use
right.
for this mission. Like ice cream, it's so comforting. It's the nostalgia. And also there's a lot of opportunity for creativity. Once you understand the foundation of ice cream, there's so many different directions you could take it. So I think I was drawn to it on that level.
Right. I also find I don't know, in the last maybe 5 years, 6, 7 years, I'm not sure exactly the time frame, ice cream has had like a resurgence.
Huge.
Like a huge resurgence. You see all these different ice cream places like pop up now, like the nitrogen ice cream, everything else. Like, is it also a part of it? Like, did you see that opportunity?
Yeah.
Is it before, or is it kind of just was luck, or what was the?
I think no, it's such a good question. So, once I had this product but it, like I said, it wasn't like a business at first, but then I met Freya, who's the other founder and now my wife, and she saw the business potential. So she said, let's go to Whole Foods and write down what everything costs. Because I told her, she's like, what's your cost per unit? I was like, yeah, I go to Whole Foods, I spend $80. She's like, that's not a business like plan at all. And I was like, oh, this woman's like going to be so annoying. But then
it actually worked out. Exactly. Right. It worked out.
Yeah. Thank God for her. And so when we went to Whole Foods and we walked the freezer aisle, we saw like there was really no brands that spoke to us as millennials and definitely not as women. And there was no innovation. It was just totally like static. And it had been that way for a long time. Yeah. Exactly. And so I think we did see like, there's opportunity to make some change here, and like why wouldn't it be us? Like, let's be part of that change. Let's be the change we want to see.
Exactly. Let's be the change. So like that time, like you're right. There's Ben and Jerry's. There's like Baskin Robbins, the obvious ones. Yep. And like you're right. I didn't really see many. No. But then like, so how did you go from like having this idea and then having Freya, of course? Did she take care of like then like what did she do? What did you do? Yeah. Like you said, because you're much more the creative. Yeah. Was she more the operations, the finance one? It seems like when you were just saying that story.
Yeah. In the beginning, I would say, and what was good about each other is like we had really different abilities, but like we were aligned on this vision. Like we're going to do this, but like you have to cover so much ground when you're starting a business. So we're like, I'll do this stuff and you do that stuff. And for me, that was definitely the creative and the design, but also like the sales, marketing, PR. I was like, I think I saw that there's a story here. There's like, I think that we can represent something in this like, zeitgeist of like, the recession and people changing their careers and being millennials doing like the kind of thing that we want to do. And she was more operations and finance. I will say over time, I think with any good partner or co-founder, you start to learn a lot more from each other because now I would say, like, I feel like pretty, I'm drawn to the creative, but I feel like you have to understand all aspects of your business.
Right, you do,
to be able to really run it. But I think, honestly, just like having also another person to do it with. Yeah. I think if I hadn't met her and I just somehow even came to doing this fully on my own as a business, it's hard. It's lonely. It's a ton of work. You have each other as like kind of an emotional
support
rock.
system.
A support system. Yeah. And that is really, I think, what made it ultimately possible.
No, I find that too. I think when you have like, not just people who also that not only you can bounce things off of, but support you and like go through the trials and tribulations with it, like helps you kind of like persevere and go through it. So like, I mean, that's how I feel with like also with my businesses. Like when you're doing it alone, I feel like it's missing something, right? Like for it's a personality maybe thing, but so then you saw there was like a gap in the market for sure. And then like, cause what you've been so good at is branding it. Like it's your branding and the way it's very creative. It's very, I feel like it's like next level current. Like, how did that go? Like what was the process with that? And how can other people who are not necessarily in the ice cream world, but they could be, in the clothing space, the barbershop space, or any other space, like implement these things,
Well, I think in a way what you said is the advantage. Like I wasn't coming from like consumer products or anything like that. So we just sort of stayed true to like what we like, let's not do this to be like everyone else. Let's take the approach that maybe I have from architecture and Freya came from real estate development. Let's be like really authentic in who we are. And that's our point of view. Right. And I think people ask a lot, like in the beginning, did you feel like as women, that things were harder? I think for us, we experienced more kind of pushback just from our ages. Like they were like, oh, you're young, you don't know what you're doing. But that's what made it good because we took risks that we didn't realize we were taking.
Naivety was worked on your side, basically. Because you don't know what you don't know. Exactly. So you go for more stuff just that way. It.
Yeah, exactly. And we were the generation that we're trying to speak to. Like there's an authenticity there. So I think just doing like what being okay with like not playing by the rules, knowing the rules that you're breaking. And I think for me also, like as the still CEO of Coolhaus, like my background is design. So I am super, super involved in that side of the business. I have done all the packaging design until like the last few months where we've like brought in a graphic person. So it was like, there's just a very hands-on element that maybe separates it too. It's a really,
it's authenticity. It's a value. Yeah. It's also authentic. If you're doing it for yourself, it's coming from the right place and you're telling a story really well.
Yes. So then it's storytelling.
It's storytelling. So yeah. How do you do that? Like, how do you tell people to do that? Like what are some good tips, so to speak? Because you come by it naturally, like you said, because you come from an architecture background and a creative background. But because the story is so important in building a brand and making it feel authentic to take things to the next level, like what would you tell somebody who's not...
I think, there's two ways that I think probably the story goes. One is the look and feel that you don't really say anything, but you just get a sense of it. Like, you know, for us, like Coolhaus it's very colorful and bright and shiny textures. And that's us. Like, it's really high quality, but like that should be fun, not serious. I find a lot of the like higher quality ice cream brands, it's interestingly serious. And that's okay, but that's not us. And I think you feel that from all the textures and all of those pieces. So like, think about all the choices you can make and what that is going to ladder up to. Because you have like a second with somebody, like you have such little time that you kind of have to almost think like, if they don't read anything, what are they going to know? Right. And then kind of the deeper levels, like if you've got them and they're looking and they turn it over, they want to read, the story can like be written out, but it's got to be so snackable. Right. Like no one wants this like long paragraph and then we it's size. Like, you like take little, and like, this is even something we've more come to kind of, I would say more recently with Coolhaus is really distilling, like what are like the 4 sentences, you know, that we really want them, that are must-haves if they're going to be part of our brand. So I would say, you know, that's like the 2 biggest pieces. And even just taking the time to be like, well, what is our story? And how interesting is it? You know, like, a friend of mine is a real estate developer and they're saying, with one of their spaces, they want to, like, instead of like renting them out to other restaurants, potentially they're like, well, why don't we just develop the restaurants? We own the land. And that's a really interesting model, but like, what's your story going to be? That they kind of like can't know like that. Like you're going to have to maybe partner with someone else somehow still, because people still want to feel connected beyond, you know, more
than ever before with social media and all these, everything is about building communities. Like I feel like you guys done that like really well. Yeah. Like,
thank you.
You know, you have, I mean, how do you do it though? Like, do you have like, that has to be, is there a plan? And like, how do you do it? Because I feel like your brand does have a lot of like, not just a coolness factor, but a community feel.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. No, I appreciate that.
No, it's true, but no other real, I mean, I can't really think of, like, we're talking about all these different, like, I felt like when you were starting, like I said, ice cream had like a resurgence with all the different kinds, but really besides yours, I can't really think of or pinpoint any other name of a company or brand.
Well, that's okay.
You know, which is probably, really. Exactly, it's just you. You and Ben and Jerry's, that's all.
You know? No, I think that's a really good point. I think it was really helpful for us that we started with trucks and then eventually a couple scoop shops, because the trucks are like community machines. Yeah. They bring to life spaces that were kind of like dead or dying, or they show up at like a party and create this whole like magical moment that like kids and adults still like love, you know, are blown away by.
Because everyone likes ice cream, by the way. Kids like ice cream, adults like ice cream. Like,
it's ageless.
It's ageless. Yeah. Like nobody, like your market right now. What's your who is your market? Mostly millennials.
That's like the strongest kind of. And actually we found that young families. We had originally thought maybe more it's like the single person pre-family. Yeah. But we actually found like 2 kids in a household, young parents is actually like the core driver, which is interesting, which is great because it gives you like we now in product development, we talk all about like occasion of use. Like what's the occasion when you're having a pint versus a sandwich versus like a bar?
Yeah. You know? What is it, by the way? What is the occasion?
So a pint is usually more on your own, and it's more like alone time, quiet time, like everybody, like quiet world stuff. Yeah. Like I'm having, like don't bother me. Yeah. A sandwich is really much more of a shareable, like, you know, weekend, daytime, or it can be obviously at night too, but there's a different kind of celebration element than with a pint, and a bar could kind of maybe fit a little in between. So it's like there's these different moments that are
it's true actually. Yeah. No, it's true. Like people are always like when I take out the ice cream sandwiches, everyone gets really happy, and then we split them in half, and everyone's like, oh, like, it's very joyous. Yes. And I do feel you're right. The pint, it kind of reminds me of like when you're like having an emotional breakdown, you're watching Netflix and you're like you didn't need to binge on something. Like there's like a very different feel for each kind of area, and you have like basically like you have like different things for both, I guess. Yeah. What's the other one you said?
We have bars. And we're working on multi-packs too, so that, you know, the non-cutting element. Yeah. But the cutting of the sandwich is great, but we'll make it easier for people. So it's smaller. They'll be like 30% smaller.
Okay, because I like the cutting, because I feel like I said, it feels like you're sharing, and it's like everyone gets excited. Yes, and
totally.
I don't know. I love. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was like,
no.
moment there.
It's an important that really, besides kind of the creative and the event side, I run the product development side, so it's always on my mind. I'm always glad to talk about it.
No, it's like great. So okay, what we were saying though, I know we talked about I kind of interrupted you, but we're saying something about when you were marketing it and branding it, and what was I saying to you?
And now I'm thinking, before this you told me I have a good memory, so I know
you do have. You remember like an elephant, and now I took you on a tangent, and now like I gotta like think about it. No, I think we were just talking about how to brand it well.
Oh, the kids. Who's the core? Who's the core
before
person?
that? No, how do people, when they're not someone who's very creative on their own, like how do they kind of get help, or how do they practically do this on their own in any business?
Well, I think one thing is creativity sort of gets like falsely kind of like restricted into like, someone who's good at visuals or like design, or like, have this like artistic element. Like, I actually love entrepreneurship because I feel like it's all about being creative, and being creative can mean a million different things. Right. It can mean like how you solve the problem, or seeing a different way out, or finding like a really special way with digital strategy to connect with a different audience. Like, so right. I would say first is like it's hard for me to think that there's not some creative element in all of us. It's just like how it plays out, because right. It's a much more abstract thing than like being a good artist, for example. So first, like, think about like what is your creativity, like what's your kind of creative spirit. Try to get in touch with that and really lean into that, instead right. of being like, I'm not creative, I'm going to find someone else, or that's not going to be part of my business.
And also, what's the story behind it, right?
Yeah.
You were talking about authenticity. I think when
yes.
people have a true story that they can like share, and
yes.
then they can build upon that would be something also, right?
Definitely.
Because that's how I feel like you were saying earlier, that's how you really kind of built the brand around
yeah.
the story,
Totally. The story was the kind of thing people are drawn to. And the story can also change over time. Like in the beginning, it was very much about coming out of the recession.
Right.
And that's what people were drawn to. Like, I may also have to reinvent my career.
Right.
Here's two, like, we were 25 young women who did something different, and
right.
it took off. And so that was like a huge part of what we would put out there. But now it's so much more about like women leaders. Like right. that's what people want to hear about. Like, what has that experience been for you? So
it's so true. I feel
yeah.
like there's always like different like things that take a precedent. Like
yeah.
right now it's all about like women leadership and women
huge.
Empowerment.
Yes.
And now you have that to kind of like play with a little bit, right?
Totally.
How has that changed your business, or grown your business, I should say?
I think it's made people connect on a different level. They
right.
feel really, really invested in the brand, and people today really want to vote with their dollar. So like they see the women founded and led seal on our packaging. It's like, yeah, I especially believe in that. That represents me.
Right.
And we are the biggest women founded and led ice cream brand in grocery. So it's like a pretty big deal,
yeah.
and I want there to be more of us, but like we are being the pioneers there.
Right.
So we really have to stand for that. So it's just about like making that really, I think, powerful connection. And then I also think it can become more things than just like being a women leader. Like we were just talking, I probably should not say this until the idea is more developed.
No, please say it. We want all the information that you don't tell anybody
I think
else.
everything's about execution.
Yes, all about execution.
But we were talking about the catchphrase yesterday in this meeting about a different direction or an evolved direction we're going to take things, empowered to indulge. So like taking the empowerment element, but making that about not just like being a women leader, but like I'm also empowered in the choices I make for when I do want to eat something delicious.
Yeah.
Like, it's bigger than
right.
just being.
So I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
So you're using that empowerment and overall, like,
yes.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't have to be like about, that one identity thing.
Yeah.
Like just be empowered in general. Like,
why not? I love that.
Yeah,
and I think it's so timely too.
Yeah,
it is so timely.
Yeah.
So is that how you get? No, it is. Like, is that how you kind of created your buzz? Because you kind of like were very, I think, good at like not just seeing a gap, and then like you're good at like seeing an opportunity, and then like basically like leveraging that opportunity. Is that how you like, or how else? Or tell me how you got the buzz around you guys like that.
I think that it was being in the beginning, was a big part was being first to market, because there was really no other like as far as an ice cream truck, like we were the pioneering ice cream truck really nationally in terms of like reinventing it for our generation.
How many trucks did you start with?
Just one non-drivable postal van that we towed to Coachella.
Really?
That was our first truck. Yes. We figured out that if we joined AAA Platinum, we got one free 200-mile tow, and that took us to the desert.
Seriously?
Yeah. It was the ultimate bootstrapping.
But
I didn't even think about that as I was like, oh, well, this is just, it was just creative problem solving. I was like, this is just how we're going to get there. I wasn't like trying to make it a thing. I was like, oh, well, we don't have money. We don't have a tow policy. Like, this is how we're
being
going to
totally
do it.
scrappy.
Yeah.
So the first time was at the Coachella. Okay. And then that obviously went well.
Yes. It really went viral after Coachella. And I think that was because there was nothing like it in terms of ice cream being reinvented, millennials being behind it, two young women who had like kind of reinvented their careers and done something different. The social media component, the street food component was new.
Also a huge one also.
Yes.
The street food was also a big phenomenon.
It was just about to take off.
Yeah.
We looked up when we were thinking of doing the idea at Coachella, we Googled hipster ice cream truck and like nothing came up.
Really?
We were like, we got to do this. So that was a big part. I think like there is something to be said. Like if we just launched exactly how we did then today, would we have the same outcome? Not necessarily. There are some things about, but at the end of the day, I think that got us started. It takes a lot more, and I also think like in the beginning when you're just so hungry and you're going for it, you might not know, like we said, you don't know. You might not know what you're doing and why it's so special or magical or doing all these things, but you can feel it. And then you kind of go through like a self-awareness phase where like it's easy to kind of I think people kind of want to run from that first phase because they're like, oh, well, we didn't know what we were doing. They want to distance themselves maybe. And then it's kind of like the third phase, which is like, actually what we were doing was like so awesome because we just like, didn't give a shit.
Yeah, you give a shit.
Yeah, you're just like going for, right.
Yeah.
Like,
you can say whatever you want over here. Yeah.
But like, so it's kind of like full circle. Like, and I think we're now kind of in phase 3 with Coolhaus. Not that phase 2 was like this huge dilution at all, but I think I can see now looking back, like I maybe started to get a little conservative with like some flavor choices or some things we did, like as far as packaging, being aware of all the voices that are starting to talk to you.
Yeah.
And then you kind of say like, wait a second, actually, like we know in our core that how to do something special, and we just need to lean into that like instinct and put research and put real thought behind it instead of just being like, we're doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
So then so did you think of all these different flavors, like the milkshake and the French fry? What was it?
I
Milkshake
did.
And like, did you actually thought of all those on your own? Like, a lot of people like hire people to come up with like these concoctions, and,
Right.
Like,
no, totally.
And you just did them all on your own.
I have the way that the flavor development works is, like either has been on my own or now we have her official title is R&D Queen, Courtney McBroom. She's phenomenal. Okay. And now we partner together.
What's her name?
Courtney McBroom.
Okay.
She kind of ran like Milk Bar and did a huge amount of development for them, and has done some amazing things on her own as far as different products. But she's on the Coolhaus team, like usually like I have an idea of what I want to do as far as something really different, or sometimes it's seeing something that's really popular and thinking, how do we make that a Coolhaus flavor? How do we take
you hybrid a lot together, like the milkshake and this, like but how do you even get a flavor? Like how do you get like a sample of something like that?
Well, so that one was literally on just a Friday at noon. I was just walking around the grocery store and I had the idea, and so I bought like Whoppers and like these little shoestring French fries, and then we just like played around with them in ice cream. So that was like literally just. You just sometimes don't know when ideas are gonna hit you, but you have to be really open. Yeah, you have to really like always just be in that space where something good could come your way, and give yourself downtime to like walk around the grocery store,
right?
Because it's gonna be harder to think of that when you're like catching up on email.
Well, absolutely.
Yeah.
What's the most popular flavor now?
Well, the most popular item of anything is the chocolate chip vanilla sandwich.
Really? So still the most traditional one is the top seller.
It is. So you have to do the classic really well. Yeah. But people will discover your brand because of the milkshake and fries or the street cart churro dough.
Right.
Or we have this new one coming out called Aunt Gladys Yellow Cake Batter, which is
what was that? I'm sorry?
Aunt Gladys Yellow Cake Batter.
What is
exactly.
that?
Well, okay, I'll tell you the backstory of Aunt Gladys. It's very niche.
Okay, tell me.
But it was originally called Aunt Gladys Surprise. And it was called that because we had this whole story.
Do you have an Aunt Gladys?
I actually don't, but a lot of people do.
I was going to say, because I feel like everybody has an Aunt
Yeah,
Gladys. So
everyone
I
has
feel
an
like
Aunt Gladys.
that's why you
Yeah.
have that name. Like,
she's like an aunt that
it's like
is
synonymous with like some like stodgy old woman in
Yeah.
someone's family.
Right,
you know?
right.
Aunt Gladys.
And we said like, well, Aunt Gladys, she never brings a date to any of the family, you know,
She has 9
occasions.
cats.
Yeah,
Okay.
she definitely has a lot of cats. And then one year she says she has a surprise, and you think it's that she's going to come out as being a lesbian.
Yeah.
But then she just shows up with this cake. That's the surprise. So it was like this whole weird LGBT
hilarious.
angle flavor. Yeah, very, very niche.
You took a turn that I wasn't expecting, and like,
I know.
and she came out as a lesbian. I was not expecting that turn.
So, but we like, we're like Aunt Gladys surprise. Truly, no one's going to know what that is. So it's called Aunt Gladys yellow cake batter. But we're building this whole persona around her on social media that we're about to start with, and I'm super excited for.
See, this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
This is this is the unique. This is what I'm talking about. All the things that you're saying, it's like the way you were just saying, like how you're creating that whole thing about empowerment.
Yeah.
Aunt Gladys story. Like, these are super creative ideas that probably 99% of people don't ever think about. And the other people who do think about it, they don't execute on it. Like, the whole 99% is, you know, execute. What is it? Like, execution, perspiration versus 1%, blah, blah. Inspiration. Yeah. And like, but you like think of these like super cool creative things, and then you implement like really well. And that's, I think, what sets you apart too. Like, and that's what I'm saying. Like, is that just what goes on in your brain? Like this Aunt Gladys thing, and now she's going to be a lesbian, and maybe she has cats, maybe she doesn't. Like, how do you bottle that and like teach that to somebody? Like, that's the thing I'm trying to like work out in my brain. It's like, that to me has to be innate, a lot of that, right? Like, some people are just naturally better at that. But like, because this is a podcast about giving people like tangible shit that they can then use on their own,
right?
You know, are there like ways that people can like get better that you've seen or implement like that stuff?
Yeah, no, I think one thing
not to
is
put you on
just
the
like
spot, but
no, not at all. And you know, I think something that I'm proud of at Coolhaus is I do think it's a place where people become like start to feel more creative, and I think that's because they feel free and they feel it's a safe place. And that ideas are accepted, you know, that it's not like this place.
So culture is a big part of it.
Yeah. Like one is, I think, even if it's not going to come from you, if you at least want to have more creative ideas on your team, you have to create a place where like they don't feel like they're out of line for saying an idea, or there isn't time in the day that can be devoted to like crazy brainstorming. Like our marketing meeting every week, like it ends up being roaring laughher half the time.
Of course,
just saying like
Aunt Gladys stories, you know, like
and Gladys and I were talking about on social like. We're going to have like all these, like, what are the bits about Aunt Gladys? And one we were talking about like, well, what would be all the things that she does? And we were saying like, one is like drop a pin in like Colombia with no explanation and text you that wasn't an accident. And you're like, like, who's this person? But I think that's it too, is like, it should be fun. Like, I think a lot of people think work is better when like there's work and there's fun, but like the more work can be fun, actually the harder you will work.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, I think like it's about people are like so like nervous about making a mistake. They operate in a fear mode where they don't even try shit out, you know? Like,
just have fun.
It's try and like just like be more loose and like get like kind of like just give it a try kind of thing. Like,
totally.
you don't know unless you just try.
Exactly.
And then being in an environment that's conducive to that, right? Like if you're in a very stodgy kind of like conservative, you know, box, it's not going to happen. Yeah. So like, I like to tell people, and this is what I think I do well. Not to toot my own horn, but the one thing I do well is I surround myself. No. There's only one thing, and they're sitting right there. Is that like I surround myself with people who are better than me, right? Because if you're going to do something well, what a good, you know, maybe a possibility for people is to like, you know, what you're weak in, get other people to be strong in. So there's a good balance as opposed to having,
you learn from each other.
Right. So it's not like everyone's really, like when you're in partnership in business, not everyone should be great at the same thing. Totally. There should be people who are good at this if you're bad at that. Yeah. And that way you balance each other out, right? So true. If you're not someone who's like very creative, but you really have big lofty goals to produce something, find a partner or surround yourself with somebody who is super creative. Yeah. And then you can do what you're really good at. Because I do think everybody has qualities that like make them like a superstar, but they have to find it within themselves. And not everybody
know the value you're bringing.
Right.
Yeah.
And know the value. Like, it'd be like, you have to have some kind of self-awareness to know the value that you're bringing, right? And like, be like, have like a come to Jesus moment. Be like, okay, I'm not so great at this, but you know what I could do? I could do that.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
I'm gonna go with Aunt Gladys, who could be really great at this.
She's good at a lot of things.
She's good at a lot of things. Now she's a lesbian. I mean, there's a lot of other things.
We don't know. It's a surprise.
Oh, right. When will we know about her?
That's a good question.
Her sexuality,
when are we going to
find
out? Buying that flavor in the meanwhile.
Yeah.
We'll get there eventually.
Exactly.
We'll take a vote.
Okay, good.
After like 10,000 pints are consumed.
That's right. Yeah. Exactly. A challenge of some kind, or like a poll. Who do you think she should be? What is the flavor though of Aunt Gladys?
Oh, it's so good. That's the thing. Like, I've had so many people that they've tried that flavor. Like when it was at the shops, even before in grocery. Like I literally have the same text message from like 6 people, and it says like, Aunt Gladys, you bitch. You know, because they're like, it's so good that they're like mad about it.
Really? Okay. What is it?
Yeah. So
okay.
it's like a yellow cake batter in the ice cream, but it's a gluten-free cake batter. So if you can have gluten, you can still have this. And then it's like a rum raisin swirl and candied ginger. So it's almost like this fruit cake, but the batter, like not baked, an unbaked fruit cake in a way, or an unbaked panettone, or wherever you're from. And it sounds like in a way a crazy mix of things, but when you try it, you'll know. I'll send some over here.
Could you please?
It's so good.
Okay, I want to try.
Really
I want to try that one.
Yeah, it's addictive. Yeah.
So can you tell? Okay, then how did you kind of zigzaggedy around here? So then you have these food trucks at the Coachella. Then what happens? Then you go viral.
Yeah.
And then how did you get yourself into Whole Foods? I think, isn't that kind of like the holy grail of, I guess, of a consumer product, right? Everyone wants to be in. Was that?
Yeah, I think that definitely. It's like a rite of passage.
It's a rite of passage. I feel like that is, like people think people know you're the real deal.
Yeah,
it's
true.
Foods,
right. It legitimizes you.
It legitimizes you.
Although people said at the time, well, why will they book the trucks if you're at Whole Foods? They could just go buy the product for their wedding. It just shows you that, again, the occasion and the usage, it's so different.
Right.
A truck is a very meaningful, special experience. Buying the sandwiches at Whole Foods is a very meaningful, special experience, but they're all they're for like very different kind of set of circumstances.
Absolutely.
So they only grew our business off one another. But so basically, like a few years into running the trucks, we were like, we've got something that people love, and it's scalable, and it's a sustainable business in terms of like the brand, and people are there's demand, but how do we turn this into a more scalable? How
much were you selling so far before you got into Whole Foods?
At that point, I think it was about $1 million business, which we thought was so much.
Yeah,
we're like, we have a few ice cream trucks. Couldn't believe it. Yeah.
So by the way, where was your second ice cream truck? If it was after Coachella?
So we had the OG truck, as we called it, and then we had a second truck in LA.
Okay.
And then we had also opened one in New York.
Oh, okay. So you started one in New York. All right. So now you're on both coasts.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was probably where we're getting. I think by the time New York was really running, probably getting closer to 2 million or a couple million.
Okay.
And then, but we said like, okay, like we've got this brand, like how do we kind of take things to the next level? Right. And so one of those, channels that we hadn't really explored, I think because in the beginning we just didn't understand the model, was grocery. So I literally like wandered into my local Whole Foods one day. Like I just showed up, like with
an ice cream sandwich.
I remember I wasn't even feeling that great, so I was like kind of out of it. And I just found the guy stocking the freezer aisle, and I said, "How do I become one of the brands that you're stocking?" And he connected me to, at the time, it was called the Regional Forager. And she was the one who was sort of like the liaison between like, upstart brands and Whole Foods and helping that process along. So it was really cool that Whole Foods had that position, because that's part of what allowed a lot of emerging brands to make it to their shelves. And they took a real interest in it. And I think Whole Foods was very special for doing that. And she sat down with me and asked me about my vision and what flavors we were going to do and the price. And I told her, that I wanted to not compromise anything about the product for Whole Foods. Right. Because I feel as a child of the 90s, like so many like fancy chefs brought things into grocery that were totally like bastardized.
Yeah, it's true.
Like their version was like so dumbed down. I think our generation's too smart for that. Yeah. And she said, okay. And, I told her about the 5 flavors, and she has since told me that like she wanted to believe because she liked the idea, but like actually thought it was like not going to work out at all.
Really?
Which just shows you that sometimes you just have to kind of power through that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She didn't think it was going to work.
She was like, like $5 architecturally inspired ice cream sandwiches. Like, yeah, good luck with that.
See, I'm surprised because I think Whole Foods is like the like the exact spot for it, because everything there is very expensive.
Yes.
You know, and
it's more high end.
and it's super high end, and it's also like everything is like, I feel it's very artisanal and this and that. I'm surprised that she would say that.
Yeah, I think the most expensive novelty besides us was at $349 or $369, already considered quite expensive. We're going to come in at $5, you know.
Wow.
And there's so much brand awareness that has to happen for something to succeed at grocery, but we had that with the trucks. But you know, I think just sometimes it's hard to imagine that leap for people.
Right.
And not to say she was like she made it happen. She was an advocate for us, but I think like in the back of her mind, she was like,
but
we'll see about
it's
this.
Interesting, but she still let you guys come in and try it out, even though she didn't think it would succeed.
Yes.
So what does that tell you? I think that tells me a lot. I think that like if someone likes you, they'll give you a shot.
That's true. There's a personal connection, and we did really have like. She actually had some architecture back, like she had studied it, you know, and we had both.
You had like a personal vibe with her.
We had a personal. We had some stuff like my mom's from the East Coast, so we used to go to Martha's Vineyard like with her family out there, and Kimberly had spent, you know, it's like all these kind of funny coincidences, but it's true. I think there's like a more personal connection, but I think also it's just like the whole thing was like we just sort of did it and went for it. We didn't overthink like, how are we going to do this or who do we have to call? It's just like kind of show up and, you know, just ask people, really.
Well, yeah, I just think it's very interesting because when you say that to me, like here she is, a woman who's supposed to like make sure that things sell in her store, right? Versus maybe fail and flop.
Of course.
But she still takes a chance. Like, because I always talk about this. I think so much of success is relationships. It really is, like to even get that shot, to get that chance. So like I think honing someone's people skills and like learning how to connect with somebody is so crucial and critical. You know, to take your shit to the next level.
It's true.
And it's true. Like
why are people going to go the extra mile for you?
Absolutely.
Like what is it about? And like being like kind and feeling like it's kind of also, and I'm glad that we have like the truck and the scoop shop side of the business is like this hospitality, but like everything in hospitality is about making someone else like joyful and happy. So you just bring that into your business in general, like the culture of like serving and like doing something for someone else. Well, they're gonna do it for you too one day. You know?
Absolutely. Yeah. But you're obviously, I mean, it's like the relationship alone. She gave you that. Like if that woman, for whatever reason, you know, didn't have the same like vacation spot or didn't have this or that. You'd be kind of screwed right now, maybe. I don't know. Where would you go? So they basically help build your, you know, your retail business, right? I guess. Like,
she was a huge gatekeeper, like totally,
right? Yeah. Because then if it's not, I mean, you tell me, this is your business, but not mine. But from when I kind of know from the food world, like if you don't get that holy grail with Whole Foods, what is your like? I guess you have other places. You have Sprouts, you have Gelson's, but like I do feel like Whole Foods is like if you don't get that, people don't take you seriously a lot of times.
It's I think it's a really like especially in that generation of brands, like was really the incubator. Things are going to evolve, you know, like things are growing as in terms of their partner with Amazon and you know, however the next chapter is. But I think
but you weren't
Whole Foods still is what it is.
You weren't selling on Amazon back then.
Not back then, and
it was just the trucks and then Whole Foods, right?
We had the trucks and scoop shops, and then with like scoop shops we kind of started at the same time as going into grocery, like because we were like, let's kind of test both of these. But I still think, because people, you know, worry a lot about that with Whole Foods, like the spirit and the culture is still a huge, it still is very, very special. And they did sort of make this next generation of brands and grocery stores possible. Like they were like a huge, huge pioneer in that way.
So what happened? So they put you in, and obviously you blew it out of the water. What happened?
Well, okay, not exactly like that.
Well, then you're here to tell me what happened.
So we did well, like totally we did well. But it was funny because, so as I said, I did all of the design until very recently. Amazing. So like the packaging, my idea was like the trucks are really how people know us, so we have to really reference that in the packaging at shelf. So what I wanted to do was like these chipboard boxes that look like the truck, and then this and would also protect the sandwiches from breaking or whatever. But these boxes, they were like really expensive, so I couldn't make them like shiny and metallic like the trucks, and they all had to be the same color scheme because we couldn't afford for all of them to be different. You know, like look different from one another. And then I put the like flavor, the only flavor differentiator then was the sticker that said what the flavor was. And the only place for that to really live was on the top of the box, which was also the only place that had the logo. So basically like you see them on shelf and it looked like this like matted gray line. Like it was almost like Whole Foods best kept secret. Like we're trying not to be discovered, you know, like exactly. Not good. No one to blame besides myself.
You want to be on the down low with the ice cream. No one anyone to know.
That's it's a scavenger hunt. Like if you can find us, you're a true fan. So after a few months, I met with Kimberly again to check in, and she was like, so you've definitely got something, like people are really looking for you at the grocery store. And like we had, you know, cause we had built this like from the buzz and from the trucks, but yeah, she's like, I think you could do better with the packaging, you know? Really? So you have to be, I think it was good to get minimum viable product out there, but you have to always be ready to change and embrace doing something new and do it quickly. So we ditched the box and we went to this like foil bag, which we could actually make shiny and pop. It was way less expensive. We could differentiate the flavors a lot more, and our sales instantly, like not even kidding, like 1,000% jump.
Really?
Yeah, like huge change.
So just from changing and tweaking the packaging.
Yes.
That's why I think a branding is so important. Yeah. That's like what makes a brand go from like, you know, a okay brand to like a great brand or a multi-million dollar brand, right? Yeah. It's amazing. So when you change that packaging, so then what happens? So then you...
Yeah, so then they were able to like add us in more stores. Yeah. This is how Whole Foods did it. They started you really small. We did a 3-store test. And then that jumped to about 24, and then you're ready for a distributor. Oh wow! And that's what really takes you to the next level. Is then you're getting into various warehouses, and then they can fulfill stores, you know, potentially in different regions, and then all around the country. Right. And it's funny because also the first woman, Cindy was her name, who led us into the first warehouse with Whole Foods distributor, which is called UNFI. She has also told me since then that she did not think that it would succeed.
Seriously?
Yeah, that Whole Foods told her that it did really well, so she should try it, but she was like, $5 ice cream sandwiches. This is just, you know, bonkers. Wow. And what is this brand? And she's also been like, it proved me wrong.
So you had all these people who really hated the product, basically, you know, but yet gave you a chance because you had like a likability and like you had something, like you're having like a thing with them. Like and that people who are not, like their job is not necessarily, maybe to some degree, but they're not the real risk takers of the world. Of course like not. That's the entrepreneur, that's the creator. Yeah. So sometimes like you kind of know you're onto something big when people, it's like a combination of like people are really excited about your idea and then maybe there's some hesitation out there in the market. Like that could be a recipe for like, I'm about to do something amazing and really new and really big. So so then is that your breakthrough moment basically when you got you what's it called?
UNFI. Or that definitely then things really started to build. You get more momentum.
Maybe the Coachella thing, because that was when people like, kind of
that was another one. There's like I feel like there's these different points. Yeah, like there's I don't think one single moment where you're like, oh, this is everything, but there's a couple major milestones. Like even like when we wanted to get our second truck. Right. It sounds like financially it was like what was such a small amount back then was like not possible for us. Right. And this micro lender called Opportunity Fund, they were able to give us this loan that was like leveraging our other truck as our asset in 30 days. So we could get the second and then the third truck. Yeah. If we hadn't found them, like we could have gotten stuck, you know, so that was like a really big catalyst also. So there's like all these moments that I think
I feel like with your story, a lot of it is like opportunity and timing. Yeah, really worked well together. Yes. Like you hit it on so many levels. Even like with your story as a woman, a millennial, you know what I mean? There's so many points that like work for your advantage. You know what I mean? Like, but it makes a difference. I think there's so many variables, right?
It's true.
And then because of course this podcast is habits and hustle, right? Like I need to talk about you personally, like your habits, your hustle. We obviously know you're a hustler. You know,
Gotta be.
I know you like matcha tea with pea milk.
It helps with my hustle.
Okay, good. So like, let's talk about that. What does your like day-to-day look like? Like, give me a day in the life of you.
Yeah. Well, what I like is no 2 days are exactly the same, which is kind of nice. Like, and that is the normal in a way. And you I think, come to like enjoy that. But the morning, I always start with matcha tea.
What time do you wake up in the morning?
What time?
What time?
It's probably, well, if I work out, usually 6:30. I usually do like 7:30 a.m. workouts.
Okay. Do you have like a very strict morning routine, or because you say everything's not really the same every day, it moves? But
the morning is kind of pretty set in terms of the matcha with the pea milk.
Yes,
and
I know.
Chia. And I put maca in there.
Okay, break it down for me. I know. Matcha and pea milk. I want to know what this concoction is. Is it going to be a flavor, by the way?
All the stuff. Well, we do have a matcha mochi. It's matcha mochi pint.
Okay.
So it's matcha ice cream, which was great because like getting all the different matcha samples, some of them like so fancy. I'm like, I'm just going to take this home and try it there. You know, like, they're like, oh, what happened to the sample? I don't know. Let's get another one.
And Gladys took it actually.
Exactly. Totally. She would be a matcha hoarder.
Exactly.
Okay,
so what's your matcha?
So that one's it's matcha in the base and then mochi. Like little, like those, like
no, that's for your morning routine.
Or no, that's a flavor.
Oh, okay,
so that one's great. That just launched this year. So for me, the routine is the matcha, and it's like ceremonial grade and like culinary grade hybrid, which I've spent like the last 2 years like getting the right mixture of the matchas.
Wow.
From Matcha Outlet, if you want to try the most different ones, that's a really good place. And then the pea milk, Matcha Outlet, and then the pea milk is inspired me for the dairy-free line, which I know that you've had, I think, because that's peas, brown rice, and cocoa butter. So I think that like this pea milk that I use in the matcha, it's really good, and that kind of gave me the idea. No one's really using this as a base in ice cream, in grocery. We could do something really different, and it's really clean, and it delivers a lot more protein, like per unit of the plant based than a lot of the other forms. But anyway, I put like maca in there. It's like a catch-all. It's like everything's in there.
Tell me more.
The chia seeds, lucuma. It's really good.
So does it give you? Is it like your alternative to coffee?
Or is it... no coffee. I haven't had coffee for a couple of years now.
Really? So it gives you enough energy? And
it gives me energy, and what I like about the tea energy is it's like it totally picks you up, but it's also calming and kind of this like mind expanding, mind opening feeling instead of. I don't have a huge problem with coffee, but like there can be agitation or it can make stress worse. And this is like a calm pick me up. Like what a great combination to have the two at once.
Yeah. I'm going to try that.
Try it. Yeah. It's really good.
Okay.
And then I do like this yoga sculpt class, or I love Rise Nation. The yoga sculpt is playlist.
Oh. Wait. You do Rise Nation though too?
Rise Nation's great.
Okay. That's a Versaclimber for people who don't know.
Which I didn't realize is LeBron's thing. Actually,
it is.
Yeah. He I believe is the owner of Rise Nation. And you look, there's Rise Nations everywhere where he's like played basketball. There's Miami, there's Cleveland, there's
some
LA.
guy named Jason owns Rise
yeah,
Nation.
Maybe he's an investor. Yeah.
I think he's an investor.
It's like almost everywhere where he's played basketball.
Probably. Funny. Are you sure that he probably is the investor?
Yeah, I mean, I've said fact check everything these days, but
no, but listen,
someone told me that. My employee who knows like sports facts told me that.
Okay,
Jared
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah. And then, or we do spin.
We say you and Freya, right?
Mostly we work out together. Yes.
So even though I was going to say the co-founder, who is also your wife,
yes,
right? But she's not day to day anymore,
she's
right?
Not.
So when she says she or us together, that's what you're referring to.
Good point. Yes,
right.
Yes.
Okay.
And we have that morning routine together.
Okay.
I call her the first lady of Coolhaus because she's not on the payroll, but she has my ear. She has influence. Yeah. So
great.
Yeah. She's
you should
very
make
powerful.
That a flavor too.
Yeah. Oh, that's actually a really good idea. That's actually
there you
a
go.
really
I'm
good
full
idea.
of them. Put me on your payroll too.
Yeah. That's it.
Okay.
And then we come back. We're very lucky to have full-time nanny, help with caring for our son Remy, who's 2 years old,
right,
who's very flexible and when the day starts, so that we can go and work out, and then we come back, and then he's like up, and,
right.
She's there watching him.
What time do you do your workout then? If you wake up
7:30, I'd say,
okay,
and he's usually not awake. He
right.
kind of sleeps in. He sleeps till like 8:30.
Oh, good. So then you come back, he's awake.
He's awake, and then we have breakfast together.
Okay.
And then
what do you have for breakfast?
We have either like I love like sour yogurts, like Greek yogurts, Icelandic yogurts, with like a nut butter.
A lot of dairy in your life, huh? Like
Actually,
Do you actually eat the ice cream anymore?
I constantly taste test it.
Okay.
I rarely have a whole serving because it's just like, I guess not necessary, even though that sounds strange. But like, it's not a thing that I like, I take a bite and I can't stop. It's like everything's like, it's
I would imagine you're sick of it probably because it's been like in your face and around you all the time.
It's incredible. I think because we have so many different flavors and amazing products and new things in development, I'm never sick of it.
So you still eat it?
I'll probably miss it when I go out of town, for these next 7 days. Like then I start to like really crave it.
would you ever like, God forbid, eat anybody else's ice cream? Would you ever have like a Haagen-Dazs or
I'm
like
not offended by it. I think you
Baskin
have to
Robbins
always know what's out there.
Right. So you do have to like do like your market research. So
always be in the know. I will say I may not be the most fun person to eat ice cream with anymore because I'm like, taking apart like the overrun and is there an ice factor and what's the butter fat, and it just sort of like demystifies all the excitement and imagination of ice cream. But you always have to just see what other people are doing, and
I guess you have to, right? It's part of the business, I guess.
And know and clarify your point of view.
Right.
Know why. Why is someone going to buy yours? Why is it special? Like that's so important always. You have to put yourself in the shoes of the customer. And
you're constantly, I feel like, expanding on it. Like, with these stories and these other things, like keeping all these like unique ideas kind of flowing all the time to keep your brand like kind of on the forefront, right? Like, in a way.
Definitely. It feels like, I think it's like, I want to, there's so much that we put out there, and you want to make it like the best it can possibly be. So that's sort of like one set of tasks. And then it's this feeling like, I really feel like we are truly on a mission. Like, and I think you having a really strong sense of purpose, like when you're going to be an entrepreneur or grow a business, because it is like a hugely demanding thing. Like you have to be as purposeful as possible. Like I kind of feel like you have to be like, I was put on this planet to do this. Like you are carrying out a mission.
A mission, yes.
Like that, and I think that's a great way to like, because then it's like, oh my God, we have to keep going. We have to do all these things because like this is it's almost like it's your responsibility.
Right.
Funny way.
No, it's true. I had Tom Bilyeu. Do you know who he is on the podcast?
I don't think so, actually.
He created Quest Nutrition.
Of course,
right? And now he's doing this thing called Impact Theory. But he was saying something I thought he was 100% right, which was like, you have to be like obsessed with what you are doing and your mission to really become that successful, right? Because if you're not, things will wane and things, it just doesn't. And I believe that. Like, you have to believe it's your mission. You got to be obsessed with it.
And if you're lucky enough to get to a place where you're not like scrambling in the day to day, but you actually have the time and the space to like really think on the vision and meditate on it, then like our product development is a year or two out. Like, so then you're like, okay, we know what we want to do. We really are making it happen. Like I just so badly want to deliver on these products that we're working on, because I know like so deep in like in my soul
believe in it so much.
Yes.
So that I have another, away from that for a second, I want to talk to you about like you being like a working mom, having this really big growing business. Like, do you believe can you have it all? Like, is it hard to balance it? Like, I know it's a question. Everyone's like, work-life balance. Like, I don't know how to ask that question without sounding like everyone other like asshole on the block here. But like, I do believe that, like, I don't believe, and this is me, and I'll say it first, and then you can kind of chime in since you are the guest of the podcast. But like, I don't think it's so easy to have both. Yeah. And when people say, you can balance, work-life balance. Yeah. What is your take with this whole thing?
I think it depends on how you define having it all. Okay. I think if your definition of that is like having certain things that you want more of, like you may always want more of those, Right. But if your definition is maybe some core things, like for me, it's a big thing for me is like being in control of my schedule and having the flexibility that I want, because then it allows me to prioritize time more so the way I want to. It's never going to be perfect, of course. There's going to be things, I have to go out of town for this, or this day went long, or whatever it may be. Or even today, like I just couldn't leave the house. I couldn't. I love that. Like, it was really, it goes in the opposite way. Like, I got a little late start to my day a little bit because Remy is like he kind of oscillates between me and Freya, like who he's like clinging to a little more. And like right now he's kind of was clinging to me, and it was like really hard to leave, not in this like sad, like, it was just like really fun. He was like so just hugging and like, so sometimes it's like, obviously it goes in the other way where you're like, I got kind of late start but I think, if it's, for me, it's like having my family, Freya, having someone like that be my partner who I admire so much, and who is such an inspiration and my biggest advocate and critic, and like, and have that role. And then Remy, who is definitely an inspiration because like you want to do when you have kids, I feel like you want to do things for them too.
Right.
Like I'm going to build you the most badass ice cream empire.
Right. And you're doing it.
I'm trying. So those things are meaningful and like do we want to like get a bigger house as we're trying to grow our family and like we're not going to be there on every goal. We did buy a house in Palm Springs in October. That was super exciting. So that's been like an amazing but I think so you just have to like really consider like what are the things that you can kind of say that are core things that you are grateful for, and then what are the things that are always going to be probably more work and you may never get to that like end point with them and see those maybe kind of in a slightly different way.
Well, like I think I mean, that makes sense. But like, I feel like when you're where you are now, I don't know, maybe now it's kind of calmed down, but I don't think so. You're still like...
The beginning, you don't have balance.
You have no balance at all.
The first 2 years, I don't know any pop songs that came out. I always smelled like cookies and ice cream.
Yeah, like you're probably like...
And
just,
that's okay.
Yeah, it's part of it.
Yeah.
But like, I have to imagine, your schedule more, like it's still probably like, you probably work still a ton. Like, there's still like the balance of work. Like, how many hours would you say that you're working still?
Well...
A day?
So... I usually don't get into the office until almost 11 a lot of days, but I am working before that, obviously.
Like
in the
you're
morning.
still doing stuff on your phone and whatever.
Yes, and then I try to leave at like 5:30 because Remy is so little that he's going to bed a little bit later because he's being a party animal. But like they go to bed at 8:30. You want to spend the time.
Party animal. Woo! He's living at large. Yeah,
he really is.
Clubbing and stuff. And,
he's a really good dancer. It's his Filipino side, I think.
Wow,
I can't take credit for that on the Jewish side. Not so much, unfortunately. Maybe more the spirit of song. And, that will come later.
Oh, lady, I hear that. All right.
But yeah, so like when we're like, I really try to like be less on my phone then and less doing work. Like wait till he goes to bed and then catch up maybe for an hour or two. So like a lot of times, I do a little work before I go to bed. But sometimes
you stay off your phone though. Could you actually do that?
Yeah, I think that one is like lucky. It's not hard for me to turn it off. I do like really believe in my team, and now 10 years in, it takes time, but 10 years in, I feel like I can trust them to, with the right systems in place, do what they need to do and be experts in ways that I can learn from them and those phenomenal things. So like going out of town right now for 7 days, I'm not like fretting that things are going to fall apart at all while I'm gone.
Right.
Will I want to check here and there and just see what's going on because it's a really fun ice cream world, probably.
Right. And also, of course, it's also you're like slightly obsessed with it a little bit.
And it's also
and you should be
fun. It's not life and death. Well, for some people, I've learned ice cream is life and death.
It is. I was going to say, for a lot of people, to be honest, it could
Mostly
be.
Adults.
Mostly adults. Actually, my kids probably too, I got to say. I have a lot of tantrums when I say no to ice cream. So I would say it's with everybody.
Remy just goes and he holds the freezer door, like versus the fridge door if he wants like a snack or milk, and then it's just holding the freezer door and just waiting.
That's
like,
so funny.
Someone's going to open this and give me ice cream.
Oh, that's so cute.
No, we're not.
No, I know, exactly. Do you give your kid ice cream every night?
Oh, he's not every day, but he's definitely becoming a well-versed expert. He's
at ice cream at all flavors.
Yeah.
And then I guess one last thing. So is there anything you do to kind of, because you're obviously very productive, you create this, that you kind of, to keep you on point, like besides drinking your matcha tea and the pea milk and doing Rise Nation once in a while, is there anything else that you kind of like are like, I have to, this is my, and also your schedule, you're a stickler for, you want to have your own schedule.
Yes.
I know that.
Well, okay, I'll say even after the workout, like, and breakfast and shower, like I'm lucky that I live pretty close to my office, about 2.5 miles.
Okay.
So, especially this time of year when it's so beautiful, I almost always walk or ride my bike. And that time, first of all, like to be, to show up to the office, like literally energized versus like in a car when you're like not moving and then all of a sudden you got to turn everything on.
Right.
That is like awesome meditative time. Like I love to just have that time. And especially if I'm walking, like I'll take calls or, I use the time productively because it takes me like 40 minutes minimum.
Right, together.
But it's just like really nice, like just be outside and like enjoy it. So like I love that. And not everyone can do that. I'm lucky.
Right. In LA,
but,
of course.
But yeah, if you can, I think, try it, like, or even public transportation, like try an alternate method of transportation. I think it does like put you in a very different state, which is nice. Other routines, like I'm really, really into gardening. We have 6 veggie boxes at the house.
Really?
Love
What's a veggie
doing
box?
That. Like the wood box where you just grow different
I see.
crops.
Okay.
Like, and you can build them lots of different ways, but we grow, like right now we have like kale and chard and lettuces and herbs and cabbage. I'm kind of at war with the cabbage, but I just won't. I picture that like an Eastern European lady who I'm like at war with. Yeah, like Aunt Gladys, like mean.
I was going to say that's another character. You
totally.
You should have like a whole farm of characters. You should like have like I don't know like a village like a new Disney. You should create like a Disney of this of ice cream.
Totally.
Amazing.
That's a great idea.
No, I'm serious.
Good
I'm telling you. I've given you a few ideas there, Natasha. I hope you should put
because it's a safe, productive space where we can share ideas.
Exactly. It's a very creative space, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's good. The garden. So I think. Is there anything else you want to give us that maybe
those are and if you're in LA or in a warm climate or really a lot of different places like growing a few things, it is like the most meditative. Like if you can, not everyone has the setup at their apartment, let's say, but that box something about
good.
It. Yeah,
you can do that with a. Can you do you need a lot of space to have? These
no, you can have a much
boxes?
Smaller one, especially for herbs. Like you can totally, but watching something grow and then harvesting it and like using it for food or drink, there's something so satisfying about it. Like
really?
it is. There's something spiritual about it. Like I can't even explain. It sounds like the dullest thing, like watching something grow, but it like really. Yeah.
But it works for you.
Yeah.
And maybe it could work for you too, or someone else. Okay.
And for kids to show kids that. Like Remy now picks strawberries from where we grow them and like for them to see like, oh, it doesn't come from like a Driscoll's box.
Right.
You know? It's like,
right, exactly. From the fridge over there.
And some of them are really ugly looking and they're still delicious.
Yeah. I like that. Maybe I'll do that with my kid.
Yeah.
That's a good idea, actually. Well, I think that's good. I think unless you want to add anything to this hour podcast.
I love it.
Plus.
This is just part one, I thought.
I know. It is only part one. We're doing a series with and next Aunt Gladys hopefully will come on.
Yes.
Really, a caricature of her.
Just sit here and melt.
Exactly.
No, I think it's great. I loved our conversation.
No, well,
I hope your listeners do as well.
I really appreciate you coming on. Where would people find you and Coolhaus?
So everywhere? You can find us lots of places. We're at 7,500 grocery stores all around the country. So everywhere from a Whole Foods to a Kroger, Safeway, Publix, Amazon Fresh, and Amazon Fresh and Yummy, Fresh Direct in New York if you're looking for on demand. And then we're also in the Caribbean, the Middle East, and Asia as well. So a little bit international. But yeah, grocery stores everywhere. Or if you're in LA or Dallas, we have scoop shops. And then if you're in LA, Dallas, here we have two. Right. Old Town Pasadena and Culver City. Dallas is at the Dallas Farmers Market. If you're in LA, Dallas, or New York, you can go to one of our trucks.
It's amazing. Yeah. Congratulations on your success. It's amazing.
Thank you.
And congratulations with Aunt Gladys. I'll be very excited to hear what happens with her.
Yeah. We all are.
Yeah, no, we all are. Exactly. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I think that's about it, my dear. So
amazing.
Thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
Bye. I never know how to end these things.